All right, my soapy friends, I am very excited about the soap we're going to make today. It is a replica of the very first successful swirl I ever made. But I was really focusing on keeping my batter very fluid because trying to swirl and all my past failures were all based on the soap just getting too thick too fast. So this swirl was very light and wispy, and I'm super excited to make it. This was a special request, so that makes it just that much more special. Let's go ahead and add everything in. This is my go-to vegan palm-free recipe, and the only modifications to it are we're adding some aloe vera juice and honey. So I have to be careful, that will speed things up. Some lavender essential oil also will speed things up. And then we're going to be adding some indigo when we split for our color. This is our sodium hydroxide. So let's go ahead and blend this. Then we'll add the sodium hydroxide and make some soap. I'm just going to be looking for a light trace here. Actually, probably just an emulsion. I'm really hoping I'm going to be able to keep this thin enough to work with once I add the sodium hydroxide, because we still have to split and then add the blue to half of it, because that extra aloe vera and honey and lavender is going to speed things up. So wish me luck. This is just a master batched lye solution, 1:1. So it brings my total water content up to about 1.5, maybe a smidge over, 1.5 to 1, maybe a little more water. We shall see about bringing this up to a trace after we split it off and get the indigo added. We are definitely added emulsion. And I am just going to eyeball this as far as splitting them into two. Love the bit of a pink tone I have in here. That is from the aloe vera and the honey. That orangey pink tone. And I'm going to put this one on my scale here. And we're going to start with some indigo decoction. And I just want to put about half of this in here. So I'm just looking for 10 grams here of my indigo decoction. So indigo will also accelerate trace, which is why I'm trying to keep this pretty loose until I get the color that I want. I always double check my colors with indigo because it's so potent, and each batch of the decoction that I make, just due to the nature of how it's processed, I mean, they're going to be close, but I've had them be fairly drastically different color, and so I'm always just a little bit more cautious with this colorant. Okay, we're going to do just a smidge more. There it is. So I did a total of 25 grams of my indigo decoction. Okay, I am going to bring this one up to a little bit thicker trace. So well, right now it's just that emulsion. Let's go ahead and bring this one up to a trace. And I don't want it to get too thick, because I want to keep my swirls more on the wispy side, but I don't want it to be super runny. So we're just looking for a light trace. Color's definitely getting pretty orange from the aloe vera. That'll settle down once the saponification process is completed. And then as it cures, it'll continue to lighten up. It will not be a perfectly white soap, but this orange pink that we're seeing here, that lovely kind of coral color, will not be staying around. Okay, let's see how this one feels. There, we're about the same, and the indigo one actually might be a little bit thicker than the non-indigo picture here, so that gives you an idea of how indigo does accelerate trace. Okay, I better get pouring before this indigo gets just too thick to swirl. That was another problem I had with swirls when I was first starting with them, is I didn't really fully understand my colorants, and I did not realize things like indigo will accelerate trace. I really, and for that matter, did not understand trace all that well, and I was still trying to swirl. So I was over blending, using too much water, which meant too much heat, which meant things were moving fast, using colors that were accelerating without me realizing it. yeah, it was quite the journey. So I have this divided, and it's just a piece of plexiglass that I took down to or I bought it from the Ace Hardware store down the street. They were kind enough to cut it down to size for me. I just brought my mold in and told them what I wanted, and they said, here you go. I measured and cut. It was great. Oops, I'm spilling outside the mold a little bit there. And it's okay that I'm not perfectly centered because we're doing a swirl on this. Go ahead and lift this out. You can, of course, just pour down each side and keep it relatively split if you want to. It's what I did for the longest time, especially on this one, because again, like I said, I'm not looking for perfect lines. This is just behaving so perfectly. I'm so excited. Okay, that's pretty full. A trusty swirling chopstick. I made such a huge mess. Oh my goodness. And I'm just going to make some infinity swirls, you know, just number 8. Here we go. Just all the way down at the bottom. And see how nice and wispy that is? Get some great color blending, lots of different shades of the 2 colors. Love it. Super happy with this. So, all right, there we go. All nice and swirled up. We'll let this set up. I'm not going to insulate this. I do not want that indigo to heat up and volcano in here. Just going to let it sit and set up, and we'll be back tomorrow to slice this up into 10 beautiful dancing swirling bars. Here we are. It's been 2 days. I tried to unmold yesterday, and it was soft, so it started kind of peeling off. I just waited a day, and it's peeling off just lovely now, and it's set up just fine. So you can go ahead and cut. And it only really happened on the blue side. The blue side has extra water content because of the indigo decoction. I'm going to go ahead and just trim these edges up. Okay, the blues is still a bit soft, but I should still be able to cut it. I always like to double check the height and make sure I'm a little bit over 3 inches so that I can skim this top off, because it looks so different. But this is going to be the widest face of the bar. So we'll cut each of these to 2 inches, but before we do that, I'm going to slice this into 2 loaves. I do 1.5 inches. If you wanted to get 15 bars, you could do 1 inch, but they would be probably about 2.5 ounce bars. Cutting them at 1.5 inch, they are just about 4 ounce bars. So just remembering which one's the top. I've got my cutter here set to 1.5 inches. Wow, look at that color difference, because it has not oxidized yet. This is very green looking. We'll look at this again at the end of the cut, and we'll see it getting closer to blue. But if you ever have that sharp, drastic kind of rind around a colored bar, that's oxidation. So this is oxidized, this has not. Oh, you can even kind of see some of this blue starting to show up even as we're just sitting here looking at this. Now I'm just going to shave the tippy top off, just so I have a nice flat surface on all the faces of my bars. Oh, look how pretty that is. I love all the wispy dancing blues. Now, these 2 loaves are 10.25. So what I'm going to do is just shave off these very ends here and cut 2 inch bars. That blue side is definitely soft, so I won't bevel them today. I'll bevel them in a few days. See more of that green, but again, it'll oxidize. Oh, look, here's the green. See how much of a color change? It looked that green when we cut it open, and it's already bluing up quite nicely. In fact, let's go ahead and trim that off. And let's just watch it. I will high-speed scrub through this. It'll probably take another day for it to get to our actual blue. That color change is just really fun to watch. All right, there we go. I'm going to let these set up for a day or two before I consider beveling them, but there is kind of a replica of my very first successful swirl. Some lovely indigo.
So I did let these set up for a day before I beveled them, and about 3 weeks later, here they all are, and they're wonderful, glorious indigo blue. Love all these dancing swirls. This is such a fun design to make. It's called a Mantra Swirl. If you make one, I'd love to see yours. And for more information and details on using indigo and other botanical colors in your handmade soap, head over to the site at soapyfriends.com. Happy soaping!